Amara stood by the balcony of their small apartment, her phone pressed to her ear as she spoke with her best friend Carla. Her husband, Tund, had just left for a business trip, and Amara was looking forward to the freedom she hadn't experienced in years. "I've never been to a nightclub before, Carla," she confessed. "I really want to know what it feels like dancing until dawn and just forgetting everything for a night. I've been telling Tund to take me, but he always refuses. Why can't I have some fun like other women? I've been the perfect wife, listening to every rule, staying home when I should have been out living. I think I deserve one night to break free, just once. Please, Carla, pick me up on your way to the club. I've been waiting for this day." Amara had always been the perfect daughter raised in a traditional home with strict rules that she never broke. Her parents often praised her for being an ideal woman, one who followed every tradition and command. Even when she married Tund at 25, she stayed true to that image. But now, at 28, and with her husband frequently away on business, Amara couldn't shake the desire to experience the world beyond the small life she had built for herself. She wanted to see the excitement she had always kept at arm's length. She had tried to convince Tund to go out with her, to let loose and enjoy life, but he always dismissed the idea. Tonight, though, she had an opportunity. It was her chance to explore what she had been missing. She rushed to her closet, her heart racing. Nothing to wear, she muttered to herself as she sifted through her clothes. Everything seemed modest, too reserved for what she imagined a nightclub should be. She quickly called Carla back. "All my clothes cover everything, nothing sexy. What am I going to wear?" Amara sounded frustrated. Carla laughed on the other end. "Girl, you need to look hot. It's a club, not a dinner party. Trust me, you're going to need something that shows off your curves. I've got just the thing for you, don't worry. You'll look amazing." By 8:30 p.m., Carla arrived, carrying a dress she had picked out for Amara. She insisted they take their time doing makeup and getting ready together. When Amara looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. With the dress, makeup, and accessories, she looked like a completely different person, radiant and bold. A part of her wondered what Tund would think if he saw her like this, but she quickly dismissed it. Tonight was for her. At 10:30 p.m., they arrived at the club. The lights, the music, the crowd, it was like stepping into another world. Amara felt alive, like she was part of something bigger. She smiled at Carla. "This is amazing. I love it here." Amara grabbed a glass of wine from the bar and took a sip, feeling the buzz of excitement fill her body. The night was just beginning. But what she didn't realize was that the excitement would soon take an unexpected turn. Amara stepped into the club, her heart pounding with excitement. The neon lights flickered in her eyes, casting an electrifying glow over the crowd. She had never felt anything like this, alive, free, unburdened by the weight of expectations. The bass of the music thudded in her chest, making her pulse race. Carla pulled her deeper into the crowd, a wide grin on her face. "Let loose, girl," she shouted over the music. Amara hesitated for a second, then let go. The rhythm of the music took over, and she began to dance. Her body swayed with the beat, and for the first time in years, she felt truly alive. World outside, the responsibility of her marriage, the quiet life she'd lived, all seemed so distant now. Her eyes scanned the room, and that's when she noticed him, a man across the room. His eyes locked onto hers. There was something magnetic about him. He smiled, and it was like an invitation, a promise of excitement. Before she knew it, he was walking toward her. Amara's heart skipped a beat. "This is it," she thought. "This is what I've been waiting for." The man introduced himself as Eric. He was tall, with dark hair and a confident smile. He asked Amara to join him for a drink, and she agreed without hesitation, her curiosity piqued. As they spoke, the connection between them deepened. He made her laugh, something she hadn't done in ages, and for a moment, it felt like everything she had missed out on was here, in this moment. They talked about everything: life, love, and the thrill of the night. "I've been waiting for someone like you to come along," Eric said, his voice low and sincere. "You're different, Amara. You seem trapped." She laughed a little, too nervously. Was he right? She'd always been the obedient wife, the good girl who never strayed. But tonight, she felt like someone else entirely. The music swirled around them, and before she could stop herself, she found her hand on his arm, her body leaning closer. The night was young, and she could feel herself being drawn in. A part of her knew it was wrong, but another part that had been suppressed for so long was telling her to enjoy it. She was free for just one night. The drinks kept coming, and the world around Amara became a blur. She could barely remember how much she had drunk, but it didn't matter. She was laughing, dancing, feeling more alive than she ever had in her marriage. The stranger's hand on her waist felt like a spark, igniting something she'd long buried. Eric leaned in closer, his breath hot on her neck. "Let's go somewhere quieter," he whispered. Amara hesitated. Was this really what she wanted? But before she could answer, he pulled her gently through the crowd, and she followed without thinking. Her mind raced, but her body was already moving on instinct. They slipped into a private corner of the club, a secluded booth where the music was just a hum in the background. Eric's lips brushed her ear, sending a shiver down her spine. The heat between them grew unbearable. It felt like something she was supposed to do, something she had been missing for too long. She had kept herself so pure for so many years, but now, with her husband miles away, what was stopping her? She felt his lips press against hers, and for a fleeting moment, she felt like she had nothing to lose. But then, something inside her whispered, this could change everything. The next morning, Amara woke up in her own bed, a sinking feeling in her stomach. The soft rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains, but her heart felt heavy. The night before felt like a dream or a nightmare. She couldn't remember the details, but she knew it had gone too far. Her clothes were rumpled and her head throbbed with the aftermath of a hangover. As she reached for her phone, her screen lit up with a message from Carla. You were amazing last night. Don't worry, I made sure you got home safe. Hands trembled as she read the message. What had happened after Eric kissed her? Had she gone home with him? Or had she... No, she couldn't have. Her phone rang. It was Carla again. Amara, listen, she said quickly, her voice tense. You don't remember what happened, do you? You got way too drunk. You passed out? Eric took care of you. But it's not what you think. He brought you back to your place. Amara's stomach dropped. What happened? The realization hit her hard. Her head spun and she quickly hung up. She ran to the bathroom and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her wasn't the Amara she had known. What have I done? A week passed, but Amara could barely focus on anything. The memory of that night gnawed at her, the doubt and guilt eating away at her from the inside. She tried to push it all down to forget, but then it happened. Amara missed her period. She hadn't thought much of it at first. Just a delay, she reasoned. But as the days passed, her anxiety grew. She took the test in secret, in the quiet of the bathroom, her hands trembling as she stared at the 2 lines on the strip. Positive. Amara sank to the floor, her heart racing in her chest. She couldn't be pregnant. It can't be. But the test didn't lie. She was carrying a child. Her child, but the father wasn't Tund. It was the man who had kissed her, who had taken her home. Eric. Her mind screamed. How could she explain this to her husband? How could she tell him that she had been unfaithful? That the child growing inside her wasn't his? She could already feel the weight of the lie crushing her, and she wasn't sure how much longer she could carry it. Amara couldn't keep it a secret forever. She had to tell Tund the truth or it would tear her apart. But as the day came to confess, she found herself frozen. He had returned from his trip, his warm smile greeting her at the door. How was work? She asked, her voice shaky. Good, but I missed you, he said, pulling her into a hug. His embrace only made her feel worse. How could I betray him? They sat down to dinner and Tund spoke about his time away. I'm glad to be back, he said, his eyes soft with love. Amara's chest tightened. She couldn't keep lying to him. But how could she tell him that the baby she was carrying wasn't his? How could she explain that she had allowed herself to be swept away by a stranger's charm? The guilt weighed on her like a heavy stone. She couldn't bring herself to say it. Tund, she began, her voice barely a whisper. But before she could continue, his phone rang and he excused himself to take the call. Amara sat there, staring at her plate, the words she needed to say stuck in her throat. Maybe it's better if I keep quiet, just for now. The days passed, and the secret ate away at Amara. But one night, Carla called again, asking her to come out. You can't stay locked up forever, Amara. It's been weeks. You need to get out. Amara hesitated, but then agreed. She had to feel something again, something to escape the crushing reality of her situation. They went to another club, but this time Amara was on edge. She couldn't stop thinking about Tund, about the baby, about the night with Eric. As soon as they entered, Amara saw him again. Eric, he was leaning against the bar, his eyes immediately finding hers. The temptation surged, and for a split second she felt that rush, that excitement, that same pull from before. He smiled at her, but this time Amara felt something different fear. What would this man mean in her life now? Was he just a fleeting moment, or something more dangerous? She turned away, her heart racing. She was on the edge of a precipice, and she didn't know if she was strong enough to pull back. The night ended in a blur of drinks and music. But Amara knew deep down she couldn't escape the truth any longer. She had to face what she had done and the consequences that came with it. She couldn't run from it. The truth would come out. Sooner or later, it was only a matter of time. The next morning she woke up and made a decision. I'll tell Tund everything. The thought terrified her, but she knew it was the only way to stop the lies from destroying everything. But before she could act, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Eric. "I haven't forgotten about our night together. I'm not the only one who's changed." Amara stared at the message, her heart racing. She knew now that there was no turning back. The message from Eric lingered in Amara's mind for days, taunting her with its implications. What had she gotten herself into? The reality of her situation was closing in, suffocating her. As she sat at the breakfast table, Tund smiled at her. But Amara could hardly meet his gaze. She had been lying to him for weeks, and it was eating away at her. She knew she had to confess, but how could she say those words? The guilt she carried had become unbearable. That evening, as they sat in their living room, Amara's nerves were at an all-time high. "I can't do this anymore," she thought. But as she opened her mouth to speak, her phone buzzed again. It was from Carla. "Amara, we need to talk." Amara met Carla the next day, and the moment Carla spoke, Amara knew something was wrong. "You won't believe this, but Eric, he's been talking to Tund." Amara froze. "What? What do you mean?" Carla sighed. "He told him everything, Amara. The truth about the night you spent together. Eric has no intentions of staying quiet anymore. He's threatening to ruin your marriage." Amara's world came crashing down. Eric wasn't just some fleeting mistake. He was planning to destroy everything she had worked so hard for. Why was I so blind? Amara felt betrayed. By him, but even more, she felt betrayed by herself. She had never imagined the consequences of her actions would spiral so out of control. That night, Tund came home earlier than usual. The moment he walked through the door, Amara knew it was time. She had to face him to tell him everything. But when Tund saw her face, he knew something was wrong. "Amara, what's going on? You've been acting strange for weeks." Her heart raced as she stood there, looking into his eyes, and for the first time, she truly felt the weight of her lie. She could no longer keep it hidden. "Tund. She took a deep breath. "I've made a terrible mistake. It's about the night you were away." Her voice cracked. "I wasn't faithful to you." Tund sat down, his face pale. "What do you mean?" he whispered. Amara could barely breathe as she explained the events of that night, the club, the drinking, and Eric. She told him about the baby, about the man she didn't know, and the guilt she carried. The silence that followed was deafening. Tund stood up, his face a mask of disbelief. "I can't believe this, Amara. I trusted you." The weight of his words hit her like a tidal wave. She had broken him, shattered everything they had built. As Amara watched him walk away, she realized that she had lost everything. The truth had set her free, but it had also cost her the love of her life. Amara spent the next days in a haze, her life unraveled by the very choices she had made. Tund had left. He packed his things and told her he needed time to think, to figure out what came next. She had no idea if he would ever return. The house felt like a prison, and Amara couldn't bear the silence that now filled every corner. She had been a good wife, an obedient woman, but it hadn't been enough. The betrayal weighed heavily on her heart. She spent her days replaying every moment, every decision that had led her here. What was I thinking? She had broken the one thing that mattered most. Her marriage? Carla, who had once been Amara's closest friend, now seemed distant. She hadn't called in days. Amara's world had become smaller and smaller, and now, all she had left was the unborn child that reminded her of everything she had lost. She couldn't escape it. The baby was part of her, but also a symbol of her failure. How would she ever tell Tund? The thought of raising this child alone filled her with dread. The reality of her situation was sinking in, and she knew that. She had to face the consequences of her actions. Days turned into weeks, and Amara had started to rebuild some semblance of her life. She went back to work, tried to regain some normalcy, but the truth was always there, looming over her. One day, she got a call from Eric. "Amara, we need to talk." Her heart stopped. She had tried to avoid him, but she couldn't anymore. She met him at a cafe, and to her surprise, he apologized. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. I should have stayed away." Amara was stunned. Eric's words made her realize something. Maybe, just maybe, things weren't as black and white as she thought. Tund called her that evening. His voice was calm, too calm. "Amara, we need to talk. I thought long and hard about everything. I'm willing to try again, but it's going to take time." Amara's heart raced. Was there a chance for them? Could they rebuild? Or was the damage too great? The decision was in her hands now. She could accept Eric's apology, try to make things work with Tund, or leave everything behind. The weight of the future pressed down on her. Amara knew that no matter what she chose, her life would never be the same. And there on the edge of a single phone call, Amara's future hangs in the balance, a fragile promise of forgiveness from Tund, An apology from Eric that may never heal the scars, and a child whose very existence could reunite or forever divide them. Will she fight to rebuild the life she shattered, or step into a new one entirely? Tell us in the comments if you want part 2 where secrets resurface. Loyalties are tested, and Amara's final choice redraws every line. If you enjoyed the twists, tap that like button, share the story with a friend who loves drama, and smash the subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter the moment it drops. Your support keeps the stories coming in, the suspense rising. Till then, take care of yourselves. Bye.